Psychology and biomechanics. Personality types. An individual's personality can affect their performance and enjoyment of sports. Personality is often split into two categories, introverted and extroverted. Introverts are seen as quieter people who are happy to spend time alone rather than in big crowds, whereas extroverts are seen as louder and more outgoing and feel the need to be in the company of others as often as possible. Introverts. Introverted people tend to like sports that require concentration, precision, self-motivation, intricate skills, low arousal levels, individual performances, for example golf and snooker. Extroverts. Extroverts tend to prefer sports which are exciting, which are team sports, which are fast-paced, high arousal levels, large simple motor skills and low concentration, for example football or boxing. Motivation. Motivation is the drive behind how hard we work. Motivation has two forms. They are intrinsic motivation. This is your own desire to perform well and achieve your goals. Some of the main characteristics of someone who would be intrinsically motivated include someone who rehearses and trains a lot of times to improve their skill, and someone who feels pride and enjoyment performing that skill. In extrinsic motivation. This motivation comes from factors outside of the athlete which can encourage the athlete to work harder. This falls into two categories. Tangible rewards, for example medals and trophies and money, or intangible rewards, which is praise and recognition. Hull's drive theory. Hull's drive theory demonstrates a relationship between performance and arousal. On the chart, at low levels of arousal, the athlete's performance is low. As the athlete's arousal increases, so does the performance. Hull's theory also explains that novices to the sport often do not perform well under pressure, whereas an experienced athlete will perform much better under pressure due to their superior skills. Inverted U theory. Inverted U theory explains that arousal will help to improve an athlete's performance to a certain point. When it goes past this point, the performance begins to decrease. For example, you may be thinking about the situation too much. At that point, your performance will suffer because of your levels of arousal and you may begin to make mistakes. Aggression. Aggression is also a factor in performance. While aggression can be negative if kept under control, some levels of aggression can help performance. There are two types of aggression. Indirect aggression, which is taking your aggression out on the objects, or direct aggression, which is aggression in the direction of another player. Assertion. Assertion in sport involves being forceful with your opponent or objects involved in the game but without losing control and being too aggressive. It can be useful in some sports, for example in football, when you want to have a powerful presence on the pitch without breaking the rules and being punished. The criteria Biomechanics. Biomechanics is the study of the mechanics of the body. An understanding of biomechanics allows us to understand in detail the movement of the body. Biomechanics can be used to understand to improve in performing sport, but also in how injuries can be obtained. Force. Force is one of the most important aspects of biomechanics. Definition of force is a push or pull exerted by one object on another. Force has three variables: a point of application, a magnitude, and a direction. Types of forces. External forces, such as gravity, wind, objects, or other people. Internal forces, such as muscle, connective tissue, or bone. Reactionary forces, such as ground reaction, joint reaction, gliding, or friction. Newton's law of motion. Newton's first law. This states an object of a constant velocity will remain in that state unless an unbalanced force is applied to it. Newton's second law states force equals mass times acceleration. This can be useful in sport. You can use it to calculate the force applied to an object. Projectiles in motion. A projectile is a body or object, for example, a tennis ball. Any projectile thrown can be considered to have both a vertical and horizontal velocity component. Factors that affect projectiles are speed, angle, and height. While the projectile travels, change occurs in the vertical direction due to the influence of gravity, whereas the horizontal component of the velocity will not change. The vertical velocity of the projectile gets smaller on the upward path until it reaches as far as it will go. Then the vertical component changes direction and the magnitude increases in the downward direction. Momentum. Momentum is caused by force being applied, which makes the object move. It is difficult to change the direction of movement of an object with a lot of momentum. Momentum can be calculated using the formula below. Lever systems. Levers are made up of the joints and bones that connect them to the objects being moved. There are 3 lever systems. They are the first, second and third class. Levers are used to apply force. Longer levers will result in greater speed at the end of the lever arm, which will be beneficial to throwing or striking objects. Impulse is used to increase momentum. The greater the impulse of force, the greater the change to momentum. Impulse has a direct relationship with momentum. We can use this to our advantage in sport. We want to try for the biggest amount of momentum, for example, throwing a javelin or hitting a tennis ball.